Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this first episode of TankFax Live. We really appreciate you taking the time this morning to spend about 15 minutes with us. I'm your host, Tyler Gregory, and I'm joined with a guest here, George Gregory. He's a professional engineer with about 40 years of experience working in and around above-ground storage tanks. And so the point of this episode today and the things we'd like to cover in the next 15 minutes, what a TankFax actually contains, why putting a tank's inspection history in one place changes what you can decide, what the record does and where your engineer takes over, and the difference between reacting to problems and knowing where you stand with your tanks. So please drop any questions you have as we go along. We'll answer them towards the end. And I think, George, we can start with an obvious one. Facilities obviously spend money inspecting their tanks. Why does TankFax need to exist?
Well, what we've found, and again, I've worked on tanks for a long time now, what I've found working with a friend of mine to try to help customers answer their questions about their storage tanks is there's lots of data out there. It's just not consolidated or validated into a point where you can actually use it. So the idea of a TankFax is let's get the right information validated in a structure that's easy to understand and read, and then just start showing people how to utilize it from like a reliable source of data for them to use. So that's where the TankFax come from. It was, we had called it originally critical tank data, but I kind of took the spin off of a Carfax. It's different than Carfax. It's a TankFax. Carfax information isn't validated. We actually validate the data. So it's a snapshot of the customer's information that really helps us when we go to solve problems for them. So that's how it got started.
Perfect. And kind of moving on from there, what typically turns up as you're developing one of these for a site?
Well, what typically turns up is the information is usually scattered across multiple documents or what have you. And so it usually just trying to put all the pieces together because not every document is going to be updated or kept current. So it's kind of finding the right balance of the right number of source data that we can get and then quickly getting it into a format that we can validate whether it's good information or not. So that's kind of where it gets started.
And you made a great point there on source data. Let's say I'd like to, get a TankFax for my tank today. What do you actually need from me?
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's in the TankFax itself. What's in it is at a glance is to try to get this information laid out. So the source data that we use, I try to figure out what's the best information, what's most current, so that we can use it to kind of validate the points that we're going to put into a TankFax. So as we're building the TankFax, what I'm looking for is let's look at the most current information we have. Let's look at the inspection reports, whether it's an external or internal. If it's internal, the reason I'm looking kind of at that is because I'd like to see what's inside the tank. And then what information are people using at the site to actually use that asset as a tank. So they should be using monthly inspection logs, walking around the tanks. A gauger platform or scheduler kind of tells me, the activity going on within the tank. So I can kind of know, hey, is this tank being utilized? And people are, more turns in and out. So I can kind of know what's going on. And then the P&IDs and the CP surveys are just something that P&IDs are basically what you're looking for your safety of the tank itself from your MOCs, your OSHA stuff. So what documents are out there that are kind of relevant, and then we just kind of dive in from there and see if we can't put that information into a snapshot or a TankFax to kind of start using that platform to keep moving forward.
And so realistically, let's say somebody's trying to pull these documents together, how long would it take somebody to, start a TankFax with us?
Well, to start a TankFax is just give us basically whatever on this list of information you can get. That's where it starts. So we'll take as little as one inspection report up to whatever we can find on that, and then we're just going to keep moving from there. So I'm not overly concerned about how much data they have. It's just is it relevant? Can we dig it up? So the idea is not to spend a lot of time digging in the past. It's kind of using what we have and moving forward. So.
Moving on from there, I know an important piece that we've developed with the TankFax is the TCI score. I just wanted to see if you could speak into that a little bit. I know every one of these ends in a number. What are these numbers telling us?
That's a great question. The TCI score is that so we can kind of give our customers a visual of where they're kind of standing from our perspective of the evaluation of the data is that obviously the customer wants to keep the product in the tank, keep it safe, right? And then see if it's being utilized effectively. So, when we went out to look at a score, it kind of took it off of the RBI kind of framework and said, hey, let's make certain the customer can quickly see as we've gone through the development of a TankFax, how good is the information that we're viewing so they can kind of move from there. So obviously the number one thing we came up with was we've got to keep the product in the tank. So one of the things we look at is, keeping the product in the tank, make sure it's safe, and then kind of look at the condition of the steel as it is, and then we get into some paperwork. But there's one thing else we look at because of the condition of the tank is that there's kind of a three stop gates that we look at is that obviously we don't want anything that's outstanding that has a code or something that says it needs further evaluation to use. So those sometimes come up in inspection reports. Two, we're just kind of giving it, if there's something out there that keeps the loss of contained product less than 50%, we're going to give it a red score. So there's some gates we look at first that aren't really weighed. They're just kind of, go or no goes.
And I just wanted to clarify this with you. So a low score doesn't necessarily mean a bad tank. It just means a low confidence in the information around that tank.
Absolutely. Good question, Tyler. And so we're just trying to put it together in a flow, a workflow that allows us to give information out and make sure we can use it effectively.
So. Perfect. And I think a next great point to make is, what is in a TankFax and what is it and what isn't it?
Well, TankFax, again, is the customer's data. It's their data. We're structuring it in a way that they can look at it quickly because time is of the essence, and they can use it effectively to make their decisions. We're not telling them anything about, most fit for service. What we're saying is this is the best information we can give you in a structure that allows you to kind of make decisions. So it's giving them the power to look at their tank data in a way that it's kind of been validated, it's kind of been put together in a format that they can make good decisions on. So it doesn't certify the tank's not fit for service, but it gives all the right indications that you can keep using it. Okay?
And I think if you agree with this, just in simple language, it's everything your engineer needs to make the call in one spot with the sources, but the call is still theirs.
It has to be, the asset owners, we're just going to make it as easy as possible for that asset owner, that tank engineer or that tank process guy or the tank operator to make it as easy as possible for them to use a tank and make decisions on it. So that's our goal.
Perfect. So I think moving on from there, obviously I think a question that comes up on people's mind is, how do I know that this is specifically a document for my tank and not a template with my name or information put on it?
Yeah, and so there's no way it can make it into a template. The template is basically, the TankFax is not a template, it's a format. It's a structure of your data so that it's easy to use. I have to build the TankFax out of everybody else's document. So again, it's going to be your tank. It's your data. It's not a template. We're just going to validate the data. We're going to help make sure that the data is secure in a format, but we're also going to help use that data moving forward. So what it also does, it helps us when we can kind of identify some gaps. So it's kind of a quick overview for the customer. He gets to see that, hey, my data is in good shape. I know what's going on with this tank. But then when we find the gaps, we can kind of point it out quickly to them, and then they can make a decision on what's best to kind of close those gaps. So definitely all their information.
Perfect. And I think moving on from there, when somebody calls us and they call you specifically, what are they typically asking?
What they're typically looking for is, hey, can I keep using my tank? So obviously they get set up that on why am I even inspecting the tank, which we typically pull out from what's their permit to operate. And then the next question is when they do get some things that happen around their tanks, the next logical question for the owner, operator, or their engineer is that, hey, can I keep using this tank? And that's the number one thing, is it loss of contained product, is it safe, and is it a viable asset to use? So we're just trying to make it easier for them to say, yeah, it's safe to operate from our perspective, not just with a single point of data from an inspection report, but also the safeguards that we're looking at, the information they're retaining, and then can we put the pieces together so it's kind of a collection of the right data points that say, yep, when all these kind of line up, it's probably better chance that that's safer to use than just one point of a bottom inspection piece of data or what have you. So that's what they're looking for is, hey, can I operate that? So it's a great question. It typically comes back when we help folks with their inspection, whether we're setting up the inspection or helping with their overview, is that the next question is, can I put it back in service to keep making it money? So that's kind of where it comes from, Tyler, is that people want to know if they can keep operating their tank.
Perfect. And I think that's sort of the end goal of what we're trying to do here is consolidate this stuff into one spot where you can make the decision and feel safe about what you're doing. So, just as we're kind of closing up here, we've got a few more minutes, and I've gotten some questions over the past couple months here ready, and I thought we could go over a few of them here.
Sure.
George. So, I think this is a good one. So, somebody said, our records are incomplete. Is it even worth trying to start this program?
It's probably the best time to start it. Is that, in order to make decisions going forward, you're going to have to start with some good information. Even if the information has holes in it, at least it's good information to keep moving forward. So absolutely, there isn't anyone out there that doesn't have holes in their information, because as soon as you get the information and store it, there's going to be a time where the longer the information is not utilized, the more holes that are going to be in it. So it's a great chance to look at anybody where they have records or not, and just put it in a framework like we're talking with the TankFax to kind of set the stage for what to do next, right? Set the programs up. So that's a good question.
Another one I've gotten is, I'm at a site with 200 tanks. Where would we even start?
200 tanks. First of all, the fact that you understand you have 200 tanks is a great starting place, because a lot of folks don't even know exactly how many tanks they have. So at some point when they say 200 tanks, something is pressing that individual or that site to say something must be done, right? So either it's a permit to operate or some regulatory agencies coming in, and that's fine. So as long as you have that starting point on why you're going to do this, then you start building the structure of the data around it to kind of maintain that asset integrity. So yes, 200 tanks, you can get started. My recommendation for most people is, and what we're kind of trying to get moving out there in the industry is, if every tank has a TankFax, we're all on the same step. It's all standardized. Everybody can start using it, and there'll be more power in using the data now because there's a structure that's easy to understand.
Understood. Yeah. Another great question I feel is, how long does it typically take us? Like, what is our cadence? They give us the information. When should they expect a TankFax?
Well, our program is kind of set up to where 24 to 48 hours is our length of time for anything that we do. So we're looking at trying to set it up. We have a very structured process that we're using to develop a TankFax. So obviously, getting the information in, putting it into our process, it shouldn't take very long at all to do the TankFax itself. Now, when we get into 200-300 tanks, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we'll start getting some output quick enough with the first original TankFax, because that's going to kind of set the stage for the quality of the data that they have.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I just think the next question is, anybody has questions about the content of the TankFax, let us know. And then obviously what we're going to do is keep using this platform to start using some of the information in the TankFax to show how we solve solutions for our customers.
Absolutely. That's where the series is going to go from here. Is we wanted to start with an introduction and then kind of show some of the outputs and what we've been able to do as a team with some of our clients. So very excited to share that with you folks in the future. And just as we run up on our time here, 3 quick things. I've got this recorded now, and so this afternoon I will send the recording out to everybody who was on the invitation, and that's so that you can send it to somebody if you'd like. And if you'd like to see what it looks like for one of your own tanks, please just reply to the email. We'd love to sit down with you one-on-one and show you more about the program. So. We'll be doing this again, next month. So George, thank you very much for your time.